really good at reminding ourselves of that. You're
Well, I was looking at that, but I was gonna take a photo.
That's not.
Now that we have a team meeting, since it's right after the team meeting,
Oh,
it's usually busier. We just didn't have a team meeting today.
So when she's looking.
That does
That
change.
is next week, right?
And we've been doing Ignite in here
Okay.
3 days a week, so then that also, now they're like, some of them are out and about, someone else's.
Right. I need to charge my phone.
Inching closer to getting that listing.
Good job.
I haven't gotten to sit down with them yet, so,
Okay, good.
but,
Was she helpful?
huh?
Was the appraiser helpful?
Yes,
Good.
yes, very good.
Good.
Yeah, I like her. Is she gonna come with you?
She's in her Lakewood Ranch office. She works down here, but she lives up there and she works, I think she said South Venice all the way to almost down to Naples. It's kind of her area that she services, but she's sharp.
She gonna be our actual appraiser?
Yeah, well, yeah, she's been an appraiser for like 12 or 15 years. Her mom was like 30 years.
Yeah, it's like she learned that from her mom.
Mhm.
Wow, that's awesome. I can't wait till I can quit the post office.
We can't either for you.
And then we can like have me talk to like foreigners who need the languages. I
Right.
love using those languages.
How many languages do you speak?
Or
What do you speak?
Portuguese, my first language,
Mhm.
and German and Spanish.
Yeah.
I really like Spanish. Because a lot of people speak it fluently and mine is like rough, pleasant and very focused and all. I can communicate quite.
I took 8 years of French and I wish I could Spanish. That'd be a lot more.
I
useful
wanted to do
nowadays.
French.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to do French, but in high school I was discouraged from going.
So whenever you're ready, Brian, I'm gonna let you start it today.
Yeah, you're great. All right, welcome to the AI Success Series. Today is going to be all about the buyer consultation. And we've put together some prompts that will really guide you in actually creating your strategy and doing it in a way that both informs the way that you interact with your clients and then also gives you some reusable prompts that you can start to tweak. So last week we focused on your database and how AI helps you stay consistent, stay personal and top of mind without burning you out. Today is what happens when a buyer actually raises their hand when they call in a sign call or they walk into an open house and they click on an ad and they say, hey, we might be ready to do something. And it's all about the buyer consultation. That's where that bond is built, and that's where that relationship moves from being a transactional element to actually being a partnership. It's a relationship with partnership. So looking back, let's unpack who used some AI in their business or in their life somewhere over the last week, and what was your results?
On everything.
Yeah.
Just about too much.
Well,
sometimes.
our listing, I actually went on ChatGPT and just updated the property description.
Good, okay,
Just to kind of renew it and give it a fresh feel.
good job. So Heather, the answer here in the room was that they were using ChatGPT to update property descriptions and make sure that they had a fresh description.
Oh, I love that.
I kind of took my toes in Claude. I haven't used it
Okay.
since forever, but I've had it because you guys suggested we get that on. And I was actually pleasantly surprised by like the response for posting.
Got it, okay.
And I was like, wow, this is pretty good.
So Heather, our feedback was Claude gave some really good feedback when we were asking about
Posting for Facebook.
Facebook posting strategies. So
Okay.
interesting little nugget there. How about-
So Mike, Tatiana, are you gonna do your double screen this week like you did last time or 2 times ago?
I got an update on my iPad and I'm still trying to figure it out. But yes, I have them all both open. I'm gonna try.
Okay, good, because I like it when you do that. There you go, Brian, sorry.
All right, no problem. Is anyone there that wants to share something?
No, not yet. Just got new people, so they didn't do anything from last week.
All right, very good. Well, I would say, I think that if you think about, especially if you're new in the room, if you think about AI as that low cost digital assistant, the $20 a month, I'm using ChatGPT probably, I don't know, 15, 20 times a day to do just all sorts of things that save me time. I just needed a research project done on a very weird project. I just put it in agent mode and let it run. So it's wild what it will do for you. So, okay, so when buyers respond or they call or they show up, the quality of your next conversation determines everything that follows. And when you think about it this way, when you are really effective at being able to do your buyer consultation or you're converting that lead, that's where the trust is built. And when I think about buyers, I think about the fact that the barrier to entry with a buyer is right up front. It's when you first meet them, that's when you earn the relationship, and then you earn your salt through the service that you provide. That's very different than a seller, where the seller, you're earning the relationship and earning the salt right up front because they are hiring you right then and there to work with. So for our first prompt, what's
That's
that?
the question. I'm just curious, how many people there right now are actually consistently doing buyer consultations? Where they're actually doing a sit-down consultation with them?
That's a great question.
It's hard to get them to schedule anything.
Okay.
I
So,
wouldn't say consistent, but as consistent as I can.
okay, got it. So we have an opportunity, Heather. So that's a great question.
Well, and the reason why I asked that question is, as we wrote this last night, you guys, I really wanted to make it so that you feel more confident going into a buyer consultation and you feel comfortable doing one, because it's a big deal when you can actually do that, and it makes the process go faster. It makes their decision making when they find their house easier, because you've basically handled every objection before you start taking them out to show property.
Yeah, and back in the day, I was a two-time sweat hog, which was Bold with another company way before Bold was something. And there was a gentleman, and he had this thick New Jersey accent, and he would always say, "You Cito, you come to the office." And that burned into my memory. Cito, come into the office. And with a buyer, now we can do that via Zoom, but being able to say, "Hey, listen, your process, the experience of buying a home is really important to you, correct? Great. Well, we have a process that walks you through how to make sure that you find the right house, the best house, in the best amount of time, and most importantly, you pay the best price. Are those your goals?" And they always say, "Yeah." We go, "Great, let's do this. Let's get together. In person, great, because then we can be eyeball to eyeball. And let's sit down, otherwise on Zoom, or we can do it on a phone call if we need to. Zoom's even better than a phone call. But let's really understand your needs, your goals. I'll walk you through my system to make sure that we do those three things. And while we're there, we'll answer any questions or concerns you have so that you're never in the dark. Will that work for you?" They almost always say, "Yeah," or they'll say, "What's the catch?" or "Does this cost anything?" You go, I'm here to earn your business. And the thing is, we know from experience that when you get focused on an agent, the agent will then get focused on you. I would just like to have the opportunity to earn your business.
I will say, I'd like to add to that, because one of the things that I always did was, what I found, especially when you're working for younger buyers, they don't actually know what money is due when. They have lots of questions around, how much is this going to cost? So I would tell them to get them to come in and sit down. Hey, I'm going to go through step by step an approximate range of what everything costs, because it depends on a lot of the different companies they use. I'll go through an approximate range, and I'll let you, more importantly, I'll let you know when this money is due. So you have clarity on when you have to have X amount of dollars. And that really worked really well for me, Brian, to get them to come in and sit down.
Yeah, well, and to take that one step further, I would actually sit down and do a pre-qualification with them to understand what are they paying in rent? How does that compare to a mortgage payment? Because there's a concept of effective payment, which rent and mortgage are not the same, so if they're paying 1,500 in rent, it's not the same as paying 1,500 in mortgage, because you've got tax deductibility, you've got built-in appreciation, you've got other elements. But we would sit down and say, let's look at this and let's figure out a strategy that we can get you the best monthly payment, and most importantly, reduce the cost that you pay at closing, so you can invest back in furniture or other things in the house. And that's the way that we provide that value that hooks them, because if we set that hook and they go, if I sit down with Tatiana, I'm gonna learn something that's gonna save me money or create clarity, that's where they're excited to sit down. That help?
That's perfect.
Right?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I thought this was a good teaching moment for them to kind of help them. Because my goal behind this is so that this makes it easy and you feel comfortable and confident to go into these appointments.
Yeah, absolutely. So we dive into the very first prompt, and by the way, we did a few things this time to make the prompts easier. We're gonna have them on the screen and we have them boxed in. Tatiana's shaking her head, yes. Yeah, they like the new model.
Did we
So-
learn?
Yes, agents don't lose buyers during showings, they lose them before the consultation ever happens. Not because they're bad agents, but because they don't clearly articulate the value of the meeting, and that's what I was just talking about. AI can help you do a critical thing here, it can help you explain the benefits of meeting with you without pressure. And as it says here, what I just said, when a buyer gets focused on an agent, the agent gets focused on them. So the first prompt that we're going to do is going to be converting from interest to a buyer's meeting. And Heather, will you stick the first prompt up for us?
Hold on, I gotta hit, there you go.
There you go. All right. So now we have them on the screen, so you can take a photo of them. But what this prompt is going to say, so the first thing in prompting, we want to tell it how to think. One of the challenges is if we give it general questions, it's going to give us general answers. But if we tell it the perspective to think from, it will give us a more refined answer. So the who is it is act as a confident professional Keller Williams buyer's agent speaking to a buyer lead for the first time. This could be an ad call, a sign call, or an open house walk-in conversation. Before crafting the response, think about this. The buyer is curious but guarded. Do we ever have buyers that are guarded? Yeah. They're a little like, oh, just looking. They're not looking for pressure, they're looking for clarity. It's what I said earlier. People agree to meet when they see a clear benefit for themselves, and when a buyer gets focused on an agent, that agent gets focused on them. The outcome is to create a concise, compelling invitation that transitions the conversation from casual interest to an in-person or Zoom meeting, clearly explains why meeting is valuable to the buyer, positions the meeting as a needs assessment, not a sales pitch. In other words, we want to ask open-ended questions and not show and sell. And lastly, that it emphasizes that the buyer will leave with clarity, not obligation, and with a simple, assumptive next step. So if you want to take a photo of the screen, you can open ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or any of those, hit the little plus button, hit the camera button, you can take a picture of the screen, or you can take a picture of it from your student manual, and it will run that out for you.
Yeah, so much easier than trying to type it in.
I'm gonna do it while you're doing it as well.
And then what we do next is we're sharing what we get. We're gonna share on who we share. The really most important part, so of something that you hadn't learned before.
Tell me what you get, Brian.
All right. How do we do on the prompts? You guys get yours run?
Mhm.
Okay.
ChatGPT is great for listening to text.
Oh, good.
When you
Okay,
talk.
good. So ChatGPT, she put it on and just recorded it while I spoke. So
Yeah, a lot of people like to do that one.
yeah, how did we do? What's interesting about the response?
So chat gave me 4, 5, 6, 7 different ones, and Gemini gave me 2.
Ah, interesting. So ChatGPT gave 7 different answers. Gemini gave 2.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Mm.
So.
And here's what I would say on this one, just pick the one line, like somebody pick one line that they would actually use and share that one line with everyone.
I like this one, normalize being just looking, quote unquote. That's completely normal, by the way. Most people I talk to aren't rushing. They're just trying to get clear on their options and timing. Excellent answer.
Yeah, that's good.
Mhm.
That's good.
Short and straight.
Here's what mine said, so this was universal, it could be an ad call, sign call, open house, or just meeting on Zoom, and it says, based on what you've shared, it sounds like you're early in the process, but serious, and you wanna make sure you're making smart decisions without feeling pushed. What I usually do at this point is a short low-key meeting, maybe 20 or 30 minutes, where we map out what you want, what to watch out for, and what the smartest next step is, whether it's now or later. It's not a sales pitch. You don't commit to anything. You just leave with clarity on price, timing, and options. So you don't get blindsided when you're actually ready to make a move. Would it be easier to do that in person or over Zoom? I've got 6 o'clock or 8:30 available.
I like that one. Gives you two options for.
I was like, I love the 2-option close.
Yeah,
That's
anything.
That's putting you in control of your time instead of jumping to what the buyer wants.
That's
Yeah.
what I have to start doing now. I have.
Yeah. Well, and Heather, on that, if you time block your appointment, so if you do your economic model and you know how many appointments you have, and you just go into your calendar and you actually put those appointments on your calendar, then you literally have an appointment with yourself for an appointment at that time. And it's really easy to say, hey, I'm looking at my calendar. I've got 3:30 or 5:30 available. Which works better for you?
Yep.
They don't have to know that the other time you have an appointment with yourself.
Did you know that it is an interrogation tactic as well?
Ah,
I had with Glenn Kozlowski interrogation techniques, and you give them two options of answers that still incriminate themselves, but they're less severe than what they're really being accused for.
Oh.
So they still admit guilt,
right.
but not as severe. Oh, you didn't kill anybody, but did you steal this or this?
There you go. People want to answer either or. Heather, how do you do there?
Do you have anything? More sharing?
I've noticed that if you back off a bit and give them time, it won't come off as salesy.
Yeah, I just meant on the AI, like, did you have a prompt that stood out that you liked? I don't think we had anyone this time, we'll work on it for next time.
Yeah.
Okay, Heather, no problem at all. Well,
That's okay.
go ahead.
So I'm going to talk about the needs assessment. Cause again, when you're bringing them into the market center or to your office or wherever you sit down, you want to actually ask questions that build their confidence, right? You want them to feel comfortable with you. You need to know everything you need to know about them. So great buyer's agents don't actually talk more, but they just ask better questions. And I think that's really the key, is the person asking the questions is actually the one in charge. And that's what most people don't understand. So most buyers don't fully know what they want until someone helps them think about it. So they have to stop and think. And it's stuff like, if they say that they want a 4-bedroom house, well, is it 4 bedrooms or is it 3 bedrooms and an office? Like, you really have to get deep with what it is that they're wanting and why they want it, what's important about that. So AI is going to help you structure this consultation that's going to uncover what their true needs are, not just what they kind of can say that they are. So I'm going back through on this one. So here's prompt 2. So I'll read it to you, but I'm going to do like Brad and I always do. We'll do the 3, 2, 1. So if you want to record it, you can go ahead and record it. So 3, 2, 1. Act as an experienced relation-based Keller Williams buyer's agent. Your job is to help me run a highly effective buyer's need assessment appointment. Create a clear, efficient flow of questions I can use in a live buyer consultation that builds trust, uncovers true needs, and leaves both parties aligned. Organize the questions into these sections. 1, opening and framing. 2, motivation and timing. 3, home priorities, needs and wants. 4, lifestyle and location. 5, financial comfort and decision boundaries. 6, past experiences and expectations. 7, decision making and communication style. And 8, closing alignment questions. For each section, provide 3 to 5 natural questions and a short note on what the question helps uncover. Keep the tone professional, calm, and conversational. Assume this is a real buyer consultation. So that's the end of the prompt. So as you guys are doing that, I want you to look for 2 questions that you're not currently asking your buyers.
Well, Heather, this prompt, I think about in sports, you practice in the gym so that when you show up to play the game, you're playing to win, you're not playing to practice. And as a new or newer agent, having a prompt like this and actually sitting down and practicing and role playing with someone else, this particular, the needs assessment, ironically, that it gave me was nearly identical to the one that I ran as an agent. But to sit down and practice these questions so that they just roll off the tongue naturally and it's a process, the workflow would be phenomenal. And that's the advantage that we have today is you used to have to go look for all these tools and look for these types of conversation starters. Now you're holding it in your hand with AI.
It's a superpower.
It is a superpower.
Honestly, I really like my question number 1 on motivation and timing because it says, what's happening in your life that makes now the right time to move?
They're almost the same one.
Yeah, mine, well, I love the first one. Before we dive in, what would make this conversation most helpful for you today?
I got the same exact.
That one actually, that one sticks out huge for me
Mhm.
because I've used it for 15 years. What's most important to you?
Yeah,
And then it kind of connects them as, okay, this guy's more personal
yep,
than all business.
right,
He wants to know what's most important
Right.
for you. So that makes the buyers think, okay, he cares about what I want, not what he wants.
yeah.
So,
Right.
Boom.
Yeah, and that also, that lowers the guard. They're immediately they think that you're gonna sell them or you're gonna ask them to sign something or something when you start off, hey, what's important about this? By the way, when we do recruiting appointments, which is really a sales appointment of asking questions, needs analysis, we do the same thing. I have 2 goals today, learn about you and answer all your questions. What would make the day a win for you?
mhm.
Same conversation.
I like how it tells you that it uncovers their immediate concern and top priority. So
Yep.
it gives you that focus on how to help them, best help them focusing on that top priority.
On that note, Steve, I just kind of want to point out too that I think a lot of agents go into the appointment and try to sell themselves to the agent. And so they're talking about themselves the whole time. So I think flipping it and asking them the questions, like you said, shows that you care about them and what's important to them. And that's how you also will stand out against other agents they may be interviewing.
Right, because I did have that, being in assisted living, the family's the main person that comes in to look for their loved one. And me asking that question, what's most important for you? Sets them aside going, okay, he's actually asking what I want. Okay, this is what I want from my loved one. And I've had so many people say, you know what, I've been to so many other places and nobody's ever asked me that. And that's pretty much when you get them hooked.
It's interesting, sales is universal,
Mhm.
really.
Absolutely.
So true.
Yeah, building the relationship, building the trust, showing the pathway and providing the service.
Mhm.
Well, and I wanna point out one thing on the bottom that mine says, because you know, it always asks you a question at the end. It says, if you like to, I can also turn this into a printable buyer consultation sheet, create a script version, add follow-up questions, or customize the first-time buyers versus the luxury clients. So again, I just wanted to remind everybody, go ahead, use ChatGPT to create the buyer consultation for you. That's like the easy part. Have a couple of different versions ready. So if you have an idea of who your client is, now you have the questions to ask them. And so it makes your life a lot easier.
Yeah, Heather, mine suggested how to use exclusive buyer's agency without resistance. That was the next prompt it gave me.
Ooh, that's good.
We'll add that to one of our classes.
I think we should highlight that. Do you want to do explaining the buyer process?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are on prompt 3. We want to reduce anxiety through clarity. And when I always describe it as the buyers, when they come to us, and I mean this in a figurative way, but they're kind of blind and they're kind of feeling around in the dark. And our job is to either illuminate the room and or hold their hand and walk them through the obstacle course that is a transaction. And so buyers don't always need more information. In other words, they don't always know, they don't need to know how much you know, they need to know that you care, and they need to know that you can reassure them. Fear will slow decisions down, but clarity builds confidence. And AI can help you explain it in a way that sounds calm, experienced, and steady. And it doesn't say this, that's even if you're a new agent. And that's where, again, the tool is sitting down and practicing these in your business, and purposeful practice will help you to develop that muscle memory that you open your mouth and the words just kind of fall out. And so we have a prompt, and Heather, you've got the prompt up on the screen.
I do have it up on the screen.
Yeah, so I will read through this. This is going to be a buying process explained prompt. The prompt is: act as an experienced relationship-based Keller Williams buyer's agent. Help me explain the home buying process clearly and confidently to either a first-time buyer, a relocating client, or a returning buyer client. You get to pick which one of those is that you use. Create a simple step-by-step explanation that uses plain language, anticipates common fears and questions, explains what's normal at each stage, emphasizes what I handle versus what the buyer decides, and please organize the explanation into clear phases. Keep the tone calm and conversational. And that's going to be your output. That's going to be your prompts. I'm going to take a photo of it here for me.
Somebody read one aloud that sounds like them. Because like we've talked about a lot in this class, is sometimes they sound like us, sometimes they don't. So which is the one that sounds the most like you?
I'm reading it, Heather.
You listen, what happened?
I said I'm just reading through the response here. Hold on.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was working on mine too.
So I have a third one in the game. I just threw it on Claude to see what would it come up
Good.
with. It's not as personable, it's more like a text. Because if it's just Very thorough. Oh, okay, so that was bad.
I like the opening. Mine said, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, let me walk you through how the buying process actually works step by step. Not the internet version, the real one, where I handle the heavy lifting and you stay in control of the big decisions.
Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, I'm gonna just share also, mine broke it down into phase one, getting clear before we ever look at homes. Phase two, touring the homes, which is the fun part and can be confusing, and how to reduce the confusion. Phase three, writing an offer, our strategy and emotion phase. Phase four, under contract due diligence and the protection stage. And phase five, closing and your keys, the finish line, and you move in. That's kind of a fun way to explain the process.
My fifth one says, and then you get the keys. I kind of like that.
Love it.
So there's a one line towards the end of Gemini's that says something that I thought was interesting. Does seeing the process broken down like this help lower the unknowns for you?
So the question that Claude came up with.
No, that was Gemini.
Oh, Gemini. So the same, read that one more time.
Does seeing the process broken down like this help lower the unknowns, quote unquote, for you?
So does seeing the process broken down like this help lower the unknowns for you? That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
And Heather, on a comment that you were talking about a moment ago, when you're in a listing appointment or a buyer appointment, and you find yourself talking, the goal is to ask questions that they answer, not to tell and sell. So if you picture a giant neon sign that's flashing above your client's head, you just picture, what color is your neon sign? Is it pink or blue or white? In your head, you've got a neon sign flashing. Okay, it's a pink neon sign. It says WAIT, wait. Why am I talking? It's a
I
great,
need that one.
it's a great visual tool because it slows you down and makes you pause and go, oop, see the sign? And that's when you ask an open question. An open-ended question starts with a W.
Interesting. So now Claude has an interesting one
Okay,
on the inspection section. Common
Okay.
questions. The inspection found problems. Should I walk away? Let's talk through each item. I will help you distinguish between a $200 fix and this house is falling apart. And there's other bullets, two different.
that's great. That's great. And that was Claude.
Claude.
So Claude gave a really good explanation of how to explain the inspection and how to navigate inspection issues.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like the fact of using 2 different or 3 different AIs and then pulling together all of the best from each of them as you're doing this. I'd say, like I said earlier, have one thing ready to go, but then you can actually edit it and tweak it at any time. Nobody says you have to marry this thing forever, right?
Yep.
Keep these ideas in. I think they're really powerful.
Heather, did you have any good ones in your room?
You have
You got a good one.
Okay, we got one good one.
But the
Great.
third one, we search smart. We only tour homes that fit your criteria. It's known to rule out homes quickly, and I'll handle scheduling, and I'll point out the pros and the risks, so you don't have to decide.
That's really good. So what was that first sentence? We
Search smart.
we search smart was how it started. And the base and like I'll just kind of give you the CNN. We search smart. So our goal is to only look at houses that really fit your needs, not just like waste of time. And I think that's like so smart on that one for sure. And I think that too, you know what else that does is it sets the stage. I used to always say in my buyer consultation, on average, I usually only have to show a buyer 5 houses before we actually find the one that fits their needs. Because I knew I spent the time in the buyer consultation to get all of this information, so we could search smart and narrow it down to only a few
And
houses.
then when you point that out, they realize that you're listening to them.
There you go. And when you point that out, you realize that the agent or the client realizes that you're listening. I love
Yeah,
that.
and Heather, to piggyback on that, we of course had very similar business practices, even though we were in two different markets. I would take all of the information that I got at the needs assessment, and then I would explain to them what the first thing I'm gonna do is go through the MLS, and I'm gonna pick the criteria that you asked for, but I'm also gonna go a little bit on either side, and I'm gonna send you a list of what I feel like is the list that best represents the homes that fit your needs. What I want you to do is I'm gonna look at those and determine which ones I think are probably the best fit out of the 10 or 15 that I send. But I want you to do the same, because what I sometimes find is that I'll send 10 and I think the first 5 are the best, but you see it through a different lens, and so you'll tell me the second 5 are what you like. And I just want to understand the lens through which you see the house. So when you reply back to me, let me know which ones you like and what reason, and then we're going to work like a funnel. So as we go through the process, we're gonna get narrower and narrower such that at the end, we have the one house that's our house that we're gonna offer on. And helping them to understand it's not about casting a wider net, it's about getting focused and then going through that funnel. That's the key to the process. And that pre-frames their mind that you're gonna get narrower into a neighborhood or a price range or a style or a particular element of a house that now becomes the priority that is what we ultimately select on.
So I'm just curious, Brian, how many times in your experience, how many times did the clients usually end up buying something that they maybe didn't think of the very first time you sat down, and the house wasn't actually what they said was their criteria?
Yeah, well, the old adage is buyers are liars, and the reality is agents just suck at asking great questions. And I say that with a smile on my face, because sometimes they'll say they need 4 bedrooms. But when you are in that needs assessment, if you ask, so tell me, how are you going to use those 3 or those 4 bedrooms? And they say, oh, well, it's, my spouse and I, we've got 1 child, we've got 1 room we need for a guest room, and the 4th is an office. Well, guess what? If we didn't ask that question, we would know to look for 3 bedrooms plus a dedicated office space. We'd be looking at 4 bedrooms. And meanwhile, that's when they saunter off and buy something else. And you go, wait, you said you wanted 4 bedrooms. Well, I actually needed an office. We just didn't ask enough questions.
Well, and I think to go on, I'm gonna kind of piggyback into our next section, because I think it all ties in together. Is it's getting them in their budget and their comfort zone, because sometimes when they come in at the very beginning, their thought or their idea of what their budget is isn't really their actual budget. When you're having the conversation with them. So again, the more questions you ask, the clearer you get on the answers. Your job just became a whole lot easier than it did before. So I'm kind of with it. So leading the money conversation, right? Because this is always a big one. And this is the conversations where deals are protected or they are lost. And it's really getting clarity on all the details of their money. And approval is math, but comfort is emotional. And I want you guys to think about that. So to get like a pre-approved buyer, that's math, right? All they did was some math. But you have to, if you're going to actually get them closed and under contract, it's an emotional feeling for them to feel comfortable enough to pull the trigger to do that. So you're using like logic and emotion at the same time. And so AI is going to help you have the conversation professionally without pressuring them or without making them feel awkward and all of that. So this is the next prompt. So again, I'm going to say this out loud. I'll do a 3, 2, 1. So if you want to record it, you can. 3. Act as a trusted buyer's agent, guiding a financial comfort conversation. Help me explain the difference between a buyer's maximum loan approval and their comfortable purchase price. Explain this in a way that feels supportive, not limiting. Then provide 3 strong questions that help uncover true comfort level, tolerance for financial stretch, deal breakers they may be hesitant to say out loud. Keep the tone calm, professional, and non-judgmental. And then read those, and I want you guys to circle whatever answer comes up or that you are gonna actually start using. Maybe you've never used it before, but you're gonna start using it.
If you want.
I'll take a photo with them, Jen. No, it's getting so on the last prompt. They asked me at the end if I wanted it to create a roadmap, and I said yes, so now I have it with graphics and everything.
That's so Heather, oh, wow, that's really good. So
Okay,
I'm gonna grab this really quick. What AI was this?
That was ChatGPT.
So ChatGPT, this is really good.
Isn't that awesome? I just print that
So for prompts. On the last prompt, it asked, do you want me to create a home buying roadmap for first time buyers? And it created an absolutely stunningly gorgeous. I'm gonna see if I can hold that up to the screen. Created just this really, really nice
with all the
handout with
oh, nice.
your role versus my role and every stage of the transaction all built into this nice little PowerPoint or PDF. That's great.
So I was like,
Great.
I'm gonna tell it to do one for the sellers as well.
But I'm gonna say, if anybody like that wants a copy of that, feel free to share it with them too, Tatiana, because I think this is the one thing that is actually setting you guys, like I said before, out as agents because you're doing what the others aren't doing. By doing this, you are automatically making yourself more relevant, more educated than most of the agents that have had their license for years.
Well, again, Heather, being able to take these questions and be able to anticipate the needs, and this is this one talks about, hey, when a lender gives you a maximum approval, they're answering the question, what's the highest number that you technically qualify for? But your comfortable purchase price answers a different question. At what payment do you still feel good about your life?
I used to also say, when do you not want to be house poor too? Because some people will buy up to their top limit of what they qualify for. But it also may mean because most of their money is going to their mortgage and to things that have to do with the house, which means they're not going to get to go on the same kinds of vacations. They're not going to get to do all of those things. So I think having those conversations is also super relevant.
There's one other part of that that's important too, is that I would oftentimes, especially if they were a first time or maybe a first time move up buyer, I would oftentimes find that they were still a little bit payment conscious. And recognizing that we're not accountants, but recognizing that there's going to be some property tax deductibility and some mortgage interest deductibility for most people. That difference in the payment and the effective payments sometimes means that you can bump up your price $10,000 or $20,000, and it may be $40 or $80 a month in your payment, but you end up in a house that you can stay in for 5 to 7 years instead of 3 to 5 years. And I would always joke to say, if you buy a house, you're going to be in for 3 years, I'll be here and I'll be happy to help you. But if we can put that if we can put you into a home that you can stay in longer, you're gonna have less transactional costs and more appreciation. And again, I think that's where you become as a buyer's agent, not a salesperson, but you're actually a lifestyle and financial consultant.
1000%, yes. It's interesting. It's almost like it heard what I said because if mine was having trouble working with the Wi-Fi, but I got it. It says, if your payment stayed exactly where it is today, how would that feel for your lifestyle? I was like, that's a good question. Anything else there? Are you guys still playing?
You guys come up with anything else?
got only Gemini because chat's like, okay, you've had enough to.
So she got cut off from her ChatGPT. Heather, I texted you the image of that home buyer roadmap.
Yeah, that looks good. That's pretty hot.
But again, how long would it take you to sit down and do that? And this is where AI, there's so many things that used to cost time and money that are now free that you can just do on your own.
You mean like our new logo for our class?
Yep, that's it.
We
I
we
feel
had
over my
that
power.
I was on another Zoom and I thought, well, I need a little header for this class, so that's what I came up with.
Okay, do you wanna talk about the post-consultation confidence?
All right. You want me to add this one or do you want to take it?
You can go for it. I did the last one.
All right, great. So how you follow up after you meet with that appointment, they're excited, you're excited, you've created that connection. Now we have to kind of keep that flame alive. And so what you send and how you interact after the meeting determines how the buyer continues to feel about you over time. Professional follow-up isn't about chasing, it's about stabilizing the confidence. It's about them knowing that you've got a steady hand on the tiller and that they're comfortable and in good hands. So our prompt is going to be prompt number 5 today. And I'm going to read this out. It's going to be the buyer confidence reinforcement email. Act as an experienced relationship-based Keller Williams buyer's agent. You're writing a short follow-up email after the buyer consultation. Before writing, think about this. Buyers often feel hopeful and overwhelmed. Appreciation builds trust faster than urgency. Confidence comes from clarity and support, not pressure. Write the brief email that thanks the buyer for their time and openness, acknowledges the importance of their decision, reinforces that the process is guided and manageable, expresses confidence in working together, and leaves the buyer feeling supported, not crushed. Keep the email warm, professional, concise, and appropriate to send the same day. I'm going to take a photo so we have this for my prompt.
Kind of like one paragraph in mine.
Okay, we've got a really good paragraph here, Heather.
Say that again.
It says, I want you to know that this process is meant to feel guided and manageable, not rushed. We'll move at a pace that feels right for you, and I'll be there to explain each step clearly as we go.
And that's confidence instilling.
So my question is, how would you feel if you got that email?
I'd feel very comfortable because it's always gonna be, it's about the buyer, not actually the agent itself, the agent's not trying to sell himself.
Yeah.
And I think so the key to all this again is if it doesn't feel comfortable or like you, then ask it to change it to write it more like it sounds like you. Cause the people that are attracted to you to be as buyers that want you to be the agent, they're going to be like you. That's who we're attracting. Like attracts like. So if you feel comfortable with it, I'm pretty sure your clients are going to feel comfortable, and it's going to sound like it came from you, not like it was a bot or AI or any of the other things. So I think that's also a really important thing. Mine started off, it said, thank you again for taking the time to meet with me today. I really appreciate your openness and the trust you shared in walking through such an important decision.
Mine was the exact same first paragraph with the exception of about 2 words.
That's funny.
That's funny. It gave us all very similar answers.
Okay.
I like the second one. It says buying a home is a big decision and it's completely normal to feel both excited and a little overwhelmed at this stage. The good news is that the process itself is very manageable when it's taken step by step with the right information and support from me.
Anybody else get a line or something that they're like, this was fire?
I feel good about working together and helping you navigate this in a way that feels calm, informed, aligned, and what matters to you the most.
You feel like that sounds like you?
Yeah.
I think that's great. So again, save those, like as we're going through this, save these lines, take a picture of them if you need some help with it or whatever. Cause let's start using what we do today actually to go out into the world and use in buyer consultations. And so if you don't have a buyer consultation right now, that's okay. Just be ready for when you do. That's my message on that piece. Do you wanna do the homework part and the wrap up, Brian, or you want? me
Yeah,
to
I'll do
wrap
that. No, I'll be happy to take that. I think it's important that when you think about prompting, again, I said this earlier, we wanna tell them how to think. And if you notice, I specifically wrote these to say, think like a top Keller Williams buyer's agent, because we knew it actually knows, like, ChatGPT knows bold, it knows the bold laws, it knows the bold truths. There's things in there that it knows to be able to incorporate that it's found out in the internet universe. So telling it how to think, giving it some guardrails of here are the things, the considerations that are important. And then now write the email. And Heather, we do have a prompt engineer that I can share again that we have in our Coastal Living collection that will literally, you can say, I want to write a prompt about blank, and it will just ask you question after question after question until you say go. And I was sharing with one of our staff members that I had a prompt the other day that was 5 pages when I printed it off. It was 5 pages, it kept iterating and asking me questions. And it generated about a 72-page white paper as a result, and it was so spot on, and it would have taken me a year to have written that, and it probably spent about 15 minutes researching and putting it together. So that's the power. So today wasn't just about learning AI prompts. This was about being.
I'm gonna interrupt you for a second, Brian, because here's where my brain, when you were sharing that, I was like, isn't that what we should be doing as agents with our clients? Is asking making the prompt or the questions that we're asking so detailed, so many that we know everything about them. Their whole experience is easier. They're gonna get what they want. They're making money. I mean, I think that I was listening to it from your perspective, but I was also flipping it and listening to it from an agent versus the client's perspective. So that's just my 2 cents. Sorry.
Well, yeah, well, and to take that one step further with generative AI, the consumer used to find you in search. Now they go and they ask who's the best realtor in Sarasota and Inglewood. And I forget what call we were just on. It was just this week, Heather. I don't remember if it was a call I was on or if it was the growth call, but they were talking about an agent just simply by teaching ChatGPT who the agent was, how he thought about the consumer and the consumer experience. It was 44 transactions directly from ChatGPT because people were going into the market saying, who is the best agent in this area? And it was spitting them out. So if you spend time with it saying, I want you to ask me questions and you make sure that it's turned on, that it's training the model. I want you to ask questions about me as a real estate agent and how I work with consumers so that if a consumer wants to find me or use me, they can find it through ChatGPT. It'll sit and ask you questions and answer, and now it's training the model on who you are. And then to add to that, Heather, this is probably 6 months ago, asked the question, who was Brian Wentz? And I was number 4 when it popped up. There's a famous researcher that has my name, and I forget, there's a engineer, I think it is. I don't remember who number 3 was. I think a college professor, and then me, and it listed all the things, and that's from me having interacted with it long enough that it knew who I was. So that's part of it.
I want to add to that too, because I've actually worked with a couple of my clients on it. And what they found actually helps boost them in this too is Google reviews, especially if anybody's using Gemini. So the more Google reviews you get, and by the way, they can be your family members. You just have to make sure you're spreading it out in such a way that you're getting good Google reviews and reminding yourself when you do a closing or a rental property or whatever, that you're getting a review after it. And I 100% agree is start asking ChatGPT what you personally have to do to get your name out there, because I've also had a couple of my clients got deals from ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's great. So today, wasn't just about learning AI, it was about learning how to lead buyers with clarity. And it says AI helps you show up better prepared, more confident, and professional, especially in moments that matter most. And that's where I say we want to practice off the field, so when we show up to play the game on the field, we're playing to win. So your homework is to use one of today's prompts with a real buyer sometime this week. Next week, we'd like you to be ready to share what prompt you used, what changed the conversation, and maybe an insight or result that you were able to get from this. And I really encourage you, every time you have that question, and this is for all of our agents, unless it's a contract question, anytime you have that question of like, oh man, I wish I knew how I did blank, go to ChatGPT and say, act as an expert coach, coaching agents in their business. Now answer the following question. You'll be shocked at how great a clarity you'll have. And so in closing, when buyers feel understood, they commit, and AI helps you get there faster using these types of prompts to be able to develop the conversations to build the relationship. So I encourage you, look for opportunity to use these this week, and I'd love to hear a few ahas from both rooms, perhaps.
Gonna make a seller roadmap, just like the buyer.
So Tatiana's gonna make a seller roadmap, and I bet if you run the prompt and then upload that and say, make a matching seller roadmap, that way it'll match the same model. That's great, I love that.
I do love that too. Do you have any ahas today or any takeaways that you didn't have before?
So much.
There's just so much, we're looking through it. You guys have one over there while we're looking?
You're talking about Inglewood?
Yeah, you have any others in Inglewood?
I mean, the roadmap thing was a major aha for me, definitely.
Yeah, the roadmap.
A nice little graphic.
Yeah.
Which it's funny because I was a computer science person in my college years, and I remember being a new agent, and I remember the day that this happened. I was a new agent, and I was confused about what the home buying process looked like, and I sat down and drew out my process on a flow chart format of, we start here, next we do this, next we do this. Then, there's a yes, no branch here, and then we go to the lender, and I drew that out, and that literally lived in my cubicle and then in my office for probably 10 years. And that became what I called my proprietary system to make sure that we could find a buyer the right house in the best time, and that they paid the best price for it. And I think part of the magic of that is that when you can kind of look up and get a visual mind map of what your process is, you then have a sense of, is your buyer client, and this applies to a seller client, is your buyer client, are they in the bounds, are they between the gutters of your process, or are they off the reservation and out of bounds? And it was really easy, like for me, when I said, we don't want you, and this was early on, but we want you to be able to look for the data that I send you from the MLS, because as soon as you go off-roading and we go to Zillow or Redfin or Realtor.com or all of that, well, now we're not pulling it from the same data source. Some of that data is old, some of it's outdated, some of it's inaccurate. Some listings aren't actually available truly. And so we want to make sure that we're narrowing the process. And the only reason that you need to go do that is if I haven't assessed your search criteria, and if you're not getting the right things, tell me and we'll address it. And again, that was making sure that, because I knew that the moment they started going to Zillow and sending me stuff, we were like off the rails. And that's where your auto drips from the MLS is so important.
Well, I'm gonna piggyback on something Tatiana said, because I'm pretty sure, Tatiana, if you go to a listing, like a new listing, to take a new listing, or if you're on a buyer's appointment and you bring that sheet with you with, KW Coastal Living logo and your logo on it, I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna be 10 times more professional than anybody else that sits down with them, because you're having a business conversation with them, not just selling. So that's my little 2 cents on your graph that you did.
True.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's very good. All right, any other ahas there, Heather?
I don't think we had any other ahas here. I think we're good.
Oh, hold on, we've got one more.
I have
Okay, perfect.
have anything to do with this class.
Okay, go ahead.
It has to do with AI.
Okay, this is an AI aha. Go ahead.
So last week when we were, well, not last week, but Monday, we were going through like all these books through the Ignite that I was able to attend. And I had an idea and I told ChatGPT, because through my MLS, I get this tracker for my expenses and my miles and everything. It's called Hurdler. It comes through the Stellar MLS, with that membership. And I'm sure other people's MLSs have the same or different trackers anyways, but it gives me reports periodically, like quarterly and then at the end of the year. So I put the report in ChatGPT after having asked it to break down the MREAs and the book
Yeah,
thing, you know, like the part of the book that tells you
the
what you.
chart of accounts.
Yes, and I had also feedback from a CPA that I had used in previous years. That she gave me a whole list of things that I should, you know, be tracking and all that. So I put it all into ChatGPT and I told it to cross-reference it all and like use the real numbers from my tracker. From my reports.
Yeah,
And give me like ready to present as like a tax document, you know. And it gave me like a whole thing that I
Wow.
could actually, you can actually download it into like either PDF or.
yeah,
So you can cross-reference those things together, you know.
yeah, that's a great tip. So she took all of her expenses from one of her apps and was able to run it through and it created a sort of an expense log that she's able to put together with her accountant. And by the way, when you do that, make sure that you tell it to train the model off. You want to turn the model off so it's not training on your data. That way it's like not your public data that's out there.
Ah, that's good to know.
Just a reminder, yeah, if you're not on a corporate plan, you have to toggle on or off if you want it to train the models.
So if you're on the free version, does it?
It trains,
So
yeah,
it goes to like,
it's learning out there, yeah.
Interesting.
It's not that somebody else can necessarily get it, it's just that it learns that about you.
Hmm,
So, good, great point though, good usage.
That's good.
All right, Heather, anything to wrap up?
The fact that we're using it outside the norm though, and that we're thinking about how else we can use AI. And again, you guys can bring us ideas. We've got our schedule, but it's not saying we couldn't leave one out and replace it with another idea. Just so that we're always, one of the things you can probably say about Brian and about myself is we like to push the limit on what we're teaching and what we're giving everyone so that we like to be the front runners, not following other people. So give us some ideas if you got some, we'll take them.
Absolutely, and remember the ascending agent community, if you're not a member, see one of us, we'll make sure you're in there. There are practice chat, script practice. We've written a contracts coach that walks you through how to fill out the contract. By the way, it's still in beta form, so we're still testing it, so it still says check with Murray. But there's a whole bunch of resources in there, and Heather, I'm gonna drop in there the prompt engineer that agents can use, because I think that'd be valuable for them also.
Okay, look in the
Cool.
chat or we drop it in.
All right. Anything for the good of the cause, Heather?
I think we're good. Had fun
Alright.
today, you guys. Next week is on listings, so we're gonna do the same thing with sellers next week that we did this week for buyers. We'll just take it a little different direction than that, but that's.
Hold on, Heather, we got a really big yes in the room here, so let me just ask Steve, what do you want the prompts to talk about next week?
You know, I got a list because, you know, Heather, you brought up the other day that, you know, every consultation, every transaction is always gonna be different. And, you know, after the Ignite class, the other day, I got a call, it needs to list the house. And now I'm back into, you know, the unknown, because now he's gotta go through probate and there's all these different other steps. So, you know, the sellers AI series is, I'm looking forward to that, because there's gonna be, I'm gonna have a lot of questions. When we get that to that point.
Great. Is there anything you want to make sure that you have a prompt to cover?
Yeah, we created it ourselves, so if you give us some ideas, we can tweak it to that particular subject.
Right now, I can't really think of anything, basically. My prompt, my first thing I did was. Can the house be listed? While the house is,
Going through
going through probate,
Okay,
yeah. And that was one thing, I did find out that it can, but a judge has to approve it.
Yeah, have to sign off on.
Yeah.
How do you request that approval though? Does a lawyer have to be involved?
Yes.
Probate know
Yeah.
that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
would say going through pricing strategies for like stubborn sellers. Especially when they have in mind, like if they already have in their mind what they want for the property, but then they don't know the stuff that we've talked
Right,
about,
yeah.
then you got that, you're the SME on this, but when it comes to explaining that in clear language that they can understand, like
Yeah. Well,
you can price it to sell, you can price it to sit.
price it to sell, but the most common, well, it says the value is this on Zillow.
Exactly, well, Zillow's lowball anyways, and then you price it you price it and then Zillow is way lower and then there's that too.
Great, okay, good. Well, Heather, we got some great feedback in here for problems for next week, so.
Good. We'll play around honestly, I'd like us to like not have to do the price reduction class because we don't have any price reductions because we price it right and get it sold. That's my goal for everybody.
Price.
Okay,
So.
I'm gonna stop sharing. You guys have a great rest of your day. We'll see you, most of you guys, I think we'll see you tomorrow for Ignite. So let us know if there's anything else.
All right, thanks Heather, thanks everyone there.
Well, Brian, I got a quick question about sending a
I can figure out how to end